have to re-wrap back around again, potentially facing FaZe, so they statistically say that they got a little bit unlucky.
Let's start off our middle billing of Erangel. 3 on the cards. The first will be a plane path from South George over towards the east side, cutting over Yasnaya. It's quite north-leaning here, Blank, but shouldn't be too hard to find some of those vehicles. Maybe a little bit of a hot drop scrabble for 1 or 2 of them. We'll have to wait and see.
They do have to rock through a lot of teams, so I think that's your main major concern. But there are paths down towards the south.
At the moment, their split is kind of pulled apart of our teams not looking to commit over towards the north side. Yudo Alliance taking in the scenery. You know, they're just letting it breathe. They're seeing what they can see. They're chilling up in the sky. Hopefully, no one spots them.
I like that from Yudo Alliance, you know. I think they do play very much not wanting to commit to that fight. They even gave a few times where they were saying, look, like, we don't want this fight. We don't need this fight. It's not going to benefit with that engagement. So I think for Yudo Alliance, they still want to keep themselves far out of the way. So I do respect the mill to drop on that south edge.
Trying to keep things under wraps, under control. It's like a fairly even split. I'd imagine that the total throwables used is pretty correlated to how long these teams are surviving, because you tend to use a lot more utility towards the later games, I would say.
I am shaking my head here, specifically because you're right and also slightly wrong about that particular graphic, in the sense that it is funny to see IHC there, right? Considering they're not making it towards the end game a lot.
But they are in a lot more fights.
This is what I'm saying. It sort of speaks to the amount of fights that they're getting and
right.
the amount of eliminations that they're picking up. So it seems to me that they really are using that utility to force engagements a lot more, to bring those fights to bear. So it's not just a case of IHC finding themselves unluckily in these engagements. They desperately want to start them. They're a big team when it comes to those eliminations. They need those placement points, though. I think every single team here understands that placement points have to go hand in hand with eliminations. You can put a bit more stock on eliminations. However, eventually they do come through if you want to be a top 3 team.
Oh no, Hamzy down, immediately followed by a second, and S2G. IHC are able to find them. Kelsey with a challenge over the top here. Actually doing pretty well, doing pretty good work, but does get spotted. And S2G down to just the 1 player. A disastrous ascent to the top.
Buildings around the fielded area because they are few and far between. But
Oh,
Silas gets spotted out by Stalwart of all teams. But there's one to start things off. This boy pops off.
And he's popping down. Top was able to put him to bed, but he gets the 1. That's what he was looking for. Over onto Icy with a cheeky little spray close range. It's just too much, though, to 1v4 in open terrain when you're getting rolled down on. There's not much to do, but is there a third party to maybe stop Stalwart in their tracks?
Alpha 7 extremely close by, and they just missed out on a golden opportunity there. They spotted Stalwart in the midst of that res. Dear me, that could have been a very different story towards their jump towards the top side. You can see now, just on the leaderboards, 74 points, clear and away ahead.
As we hop over to the southeast side, this is out in the blue. Yudo Alliance versus Morph. Morph currently on a 3-1 split with Boboho all the way up towards the north side, near Lepovka actually, just passing through prison. So Morph playing as 3, Yudo Alliance, they've got all 4 of their players a little bit closer, but they're still spread out and somewhat. And Olio definitely isolated by the 3 from Morph. Can he find a knock? He does, but definitely isolated by the 3 from Morph. Can he find a knock? He does, but goes down in the process of it. And not really going to be able to do too much with it being stage 1. Rocky can get rezzed and Morph can get on the road again.
Yeah, both Morph and Yudo Alliance having very similar ideas here to take themselves out of conflict for the longest amount of time. Shift on the circle. Can we be forced to move over towards that eastern side?
Nongshim. Red Force rolling up onto an outpost for Titan. The regroup needs to come through. You could see already in the vehicles from the northwest side. The backup needs to come through for 97, but is it going to be there in time? Hops out, drops down, now on the outside of the building, and the rest of Titan have managed to get into somewhat of a position to cover, but it's not going to be there in time. Unfortunately, Titan lose that outpost. Do they re-aggress onto this position? It's going to be rough against Nongshim. There has been no knocks found, a little bit of damage, but that's it. Titan abandoned.
Yeah, not worth it for them. IHC versus Alpha 7. Coming down from the hillside, taking on a lot of the top dogs. Still the supporting sightlines from the rest of his team. Just had to hold his ground with the DBS. Miraculous turn of events, I would say, for the Brazilians.
Bulls trying to keep up with Alpha 7. Maybe too tall of an order now at this stage. But they might be able to earn a little bit more moolah if they're able to pick it up the pace here. Match number 8 of 18. This is what we talk about when we talk about sprints. Having such a short window, if you have a bad day, it is so much more impactful than if you have a longer form tournament. Even if you're playing 4 days, it's such a different vibe. And it can put a lot of pressure on your shoulders. It's just a question of who can bear that weight, who can shoulder that responsibility.
Pasija EVOS here. They drop down towards apartments around school. On the western edge now. You got Major Pride still hanging around Sunken, so they did leave it. I think they've sort of learned their lessons from the valuable instruction this year that they have met in over towards PMPL EU. Staying in that spot for too long is very much unideal.
4MV trying to stretch out on that south side, south of Pochinki right now, with the hills to the west of it under their control, but Stalwart might have other ideas. Next zone just about to pop. A lot of open ground to the north of Pochinki, and it covers a lot of it as well. The area around Ruins, those rolling hills in the middle of it, all just presenting such danger whilst looking quite inviting in those central hill areas. It's really, really easy to just get picked off, get torn down, a player, 2 players, and it just cascades from there. You need to be very, very careful, really vigilant when it takes to controlling those areas.
Yeah, it's a lot of open space now going forward for these squads. But DXavier held their ground over towards its western side, decided it wasn't really worth it for them to move too far over towards that eastern edge. Tizzy, it's ripped to pieces here. Wings next on the menu apparently with some hot sauce.
I think FaZe were able to pinch the point away from Major Pride there, despite Major Pride getting the knock. A little bit of a crossfire, and that's the open ground that will be so tough to navigate. 4MV close by to Stalwart. Stalwart having already lost a player. They're going to be playing on as 3 on that southwest side. Loops as well, trying to swing through. So a 3-team engagement potentially in these Pochinki Hills on the southwest. Stalwart, 4MV, and Loops all coming into conflict now. But it looks like 4MV looking to disengage, send north, and maybe closer to 628.
It's the first time I've heard the Major Pride crowd actually somewhat outweigh the Turkish house here. Honestly, yeah. It is a mansion. We've got tons of people.
The drums ringing through.
Here in Istanbul, live with us, which is always awesome to see, but even nice to see that there's not just Turkish fans here. Everyone from around the world has joined us to support their particular teams. Loops now trying to get away. Weibo Gaming went up against Pasija EVOS, in fact. It's a good pick-off as they just about creep themselves in towards that western edge. That's Misery going down, and Titans getting involved at the same time.
Hey, it's Titans again. You know, they are picking up these points now, starting to gather themselves, maybe on for a bit of power like we saw from WBG towards the end of yesterday. Major Pride finds the end of Pasija EVOS. And with that point earned by 628, that puts both Indonesian teams right at the bottom of the tables, Blank. It's not that great. It's not that great for them. I'm sure they wanted to perform better here, but they've been denied that opportunity.
Yeah, I think Pasija EVOS has not done a bad job, honestly. From the run they've had this year to get here to PMGC, the return of the twins, the rising stars of Misery and Redface. I mean, it's been nice to see. I'd like to see them get some more points on board, but like we said, the more games that go on now, there is a gap to be formed. Can't keep up with the front pack for the entirety of the tournament. Nice shots here, starting things strong, but just cannot find it. Mythic gets at least 1 knock, look for some more, and this is IHC, I believe.
There's 4 players on Loops, though, and that's something we rarely see, it seems. IHC starting to suffer, but they are giving as good as they get. Look at the damage they've managed to inflict. They force Loops up high, and look at the nade high from Alex. Goes on top of the room, tears Loops to shreds. Only the one player now up and in action. He's split away from this fight as well. Nowhere to be seen. And guess who it is, Blank? It's Cardozin. He's all the way on the south. He's close to 628. He's nowhere near.
Alex looking like a squirrel's hideout, because damn, that was nuts. Excellent stuff coming through. This guy always clutches up. And Cardozin down to the blue. What is Loops doing?
I have to question that split from Cardozin. It feels like there is a disconnect between this player and the rest of the roster. And I think we've sort of been on the edge of calling it out for quite a while now, because he is always the last to survive, or he goes down individually. It is neither, it is one or the other, really. And he needs to play more cohesive with the team. I'm not sure what's going on with them, but this is not the Loops that you saw back in the group stage.
I mean, the boys on the desk even commented that it's 3-1 split is not working. It's time to switch things up, and you have limited time coming into this one. Last night should have been a big wake-up call for Loops in the sense of, let's go home, we've got to rethink this, okay? We have not performed how we should perform at all, considering this is one of our best teams from the PMGC League. And they had to change something last night, and it just has not come through. We're doing the same thing coming into tomorrow, and whoop-de-doo, it's not working.
I mean, I think whoop-de-doo is a pretty apt summary of what Loops have been able to do this match so far. Certainly disappointing, but the good news for Brazilian fans, of course, is that Alpha 7 still very much here to play. Playing on the southwest side of this circle, they're in pretty solid spot for this next one. Major Pride continue to rack up a couple more points. We'll see if they can go the distance. IHC still very much as a full force, but FaZe now the next challenge for them. And 1 and 2 put to bed. FaZe having a tough time of it.
Even when FaZe dropping in Zaki as far as they can away from IHC, still locate him. They got the radar set to FaZe right now.
Certainly seems that way. They dread them, and they're trying to run from them. But IHC are inevitable. Mormon, Mela left alive, and to be fair to Mela, you've still got the Mischief Maker himself on board.
Yeah, Mormon's also a pretty decent player on that squad, and we have to remember that IHC is being pushed in by the blue, chased by it, hunted. They've got to pass over pretty open ground to get through, but I think they're more than likely going to go for a bit of a slightly more northern split. Some bombastic grenades coming through from 628.
4MV with some shots, but not really able to do too much as the nades continue to bobble on down. 33Z wants more, he wants the spray, he wants the challenge, and another knock is sent out the back lines of 4MV, leaving them at their last man standing behind the buggy.
Nice.
And it's curtains for them. 628 on the southwest side, able to stay as 4, and convincingly so.
Yeah, lovely shots coming through from 33Z. Really strong player. He used to be very much touted for his long-range capabilities, and you can see it right there. Spray control is gorgeous, to say the least. But Major Pride's still going. And it feels like that first game on Sandhawk gave him feeling a little bit more hopeful. IHC on the same trend. 8 eliminations, once again. Very early on into this game. Stage 5, though. Is this going to be a placement point match?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to wait, because they are outside the zone right now, and they've got to fight through ruins. They're no stranger to a fight. Nongshim Red Force only have 3. On the southwest side, FaZe only have 2. A potential to try and force them into one another and third party on this position on the south side. IHC could also try and leapfrog, but then you've got DXavier in the way, and the threat of those teams behind them coming on through. A Mormon spray down, finds a knock, and the vehicle goes up in flames. 2 points. Retribution for FaZe.
Yeah, nasty little shot there coming from Mormon. Definitely assists his boy Mela. Now Zjol and Godless have to make their great escape, and I lied. It's not a placement point game for IHC.
They've still got 2 alive, come on.
They tried. I'll give them that. 2 more eliminations, they kind of be on track for a good average again.
Mela nades over to Sporter. Nongshim Red Force coming under the purview of FaZe right now as Wings goes down, but it's just a little bit too late. Unfortunately, the spot goes down onto FaZe, and now it looks like IHC want to move, but Major Pride have turned their attention out to this direction. On that northwest edge, a lot of gunfire's been heard. And they want to rack up those points where they can. 3 eliminations already found, and they are going to turn tail and instead turn their attention towards Titan. Further out to this east side, Titan playing as 3 players. And in this ditch, they need to be careful, but they find the knock onto Nomi.
It's a bad first knock to take here onto Nomi. They're not allowing to back off whatsoever. Dino gets really lucky. Good shots from Effect in the back, playing as that backstop. Not allowing to peek up, but another lovely nade over the top should shred Major Pride. But Dino, Naomi, back at it again. Nades going through. Another one almost blows up in Naomi's face, but looks away just at the right time.
Shadow ate so much damage from that nade before, but already had the first aid up and in action. This time around, though, not so lucky. Suppression continues. Effect now looking to reposition the res as well. Potential. Bamboo wants to keep this nade going over towards Naomi, but how does he keep dodging this? He steps down from the spray and Effect's on in, but it's not going to matter. Morph chime into the engagement and put an end to the proceedings. Major Pride staying alive.
5 elims so far as well, doing some good work right now. 7 on the side of 628, feeling themselves in this game, and when this team starts to get a little bit aggressive, they start to look fierce in these matches. Alpha 7 down to 1 now, picked to pieces by DxSavior. 628 off in the distance.
Spray downs from DxSavior on the inside there. Nongshim trying to rotate in, trying to backfill on the egress from Major Pride, but look at that regroup. Naomi moving back on in, as well as that send coming back on towards the north from Dino. Both of them now holding face against one player from Nongshim Red Force. Can he hold his nerve wings behind the buggy? Gets one onto Dino. Now maybe looking for the second as well, but Nomi able to shut it down. Major Pride needed to go back and reinforce that northern flank. However, they have done so successfully, and they are up to 7 elims.
Weibo Gaming, 3rd place right now. 2 elims on this game. I mean, they've been consistently good with it on the placement points towards the end of the last day.
Alpha 7 have gone down.
Yeah, they went down there to DxSavior alongside with 628. It was pretty good, and now DxSavior not finished yet. Saw that some of their eliminations stolen away by 628. Coming strong, some lovely nades coming through from Chua, as well as Levi's will take down the rest of the pack there on 628.
You can only carry 2 main weapons, Blank, but each of these teams seem to have a pair of cannons on those arms every single time. These nades have been impeccable so far. I'm really loving seeing this utility usage. It's what you want to see. Spray downs towards Stalwart, and maybe another team in the top 3 taking the knee. Morph looking to slow them down somewhat. Icy now really the last force. If he can get action back in it, if they can get that heal off, might have a little bit better of a chance, but you got DxSavior with other ideas.
Boboho from Morph attempting to get themselves out, but it's DxSavior once again looking over towards Stalwart. Major Pride get the circle, but one more obstacle in their way before they start to feel safe on this game. Good shots from action. Major Pride looking to take the fight now to Weibo Gaming.
That's the big engagement for me, and Nomi
good nade.
opens up the bidding onto Waimau. Needs to try and hold out on this hillside. You can see the reposition coming through in the distance with DxSavior moving. I'm looking at the picture-in-picture on the bottom right of your screens right now, and look at that, DxSavior actually flanking around. Major Pride have trouble now on this ridge side, and you can see they've read into that. They've heard those vehicles move. They know they need to keep that reinforcement there.
That's a strong rotate coming from DxSavior. They saw the move made by Major Pride, instantaneously take the high ground from them. Now Major Pride feeling a little bit uncomfortable themselves. Still have to move further in. Weibo Gaming gets handed an olive branch here.
Potential moments of respite for them to look for those reses, keep that 2-2 split in action. Because Waimau's very, very low there. Needs that heal, does in fact get it. A full forward send there on the buggy, trying to gather that information. Getting a little bit more intel towards that Major Pride outpost. Effect now in a 3-1. He is the straggler of it. Effect looking to try and handle it. Chua has got 3 nades. Potential to be able to land this one onto Effect, but he's holding his nerve. nicely. The 2-2 split from WBG has been maintained, Black.
It's a bit risky though, let's be frank about it. Could have gone very wrong. Sort of saved by the bell there. Circle moves back up towards that north side. DXavier really happy about their rotate now. Stalwart though, very far into the game. Again, a little bit further would be nice, especially with just the 2 players they've been running with for quite a while now. This is an achievement. The backside, Weibo Gaming take another knock here. Boboho locks in.
It's so unfortunate for WBG that their forward position, their north of the 2-2 split, is so suppressed by Morph and by Stalwart, to be honest. If they can get rid of those teams on their south, they have a much easier time of regrouping and keeping that position on the hill that they hold right now. This circle is better, I would say, for Major Pride than it is for DXavier, as Major Pride continue to make things happen now. Looks like the crowd might have been swayed by it as well, as the S2G fans now rooting for their regional comrades.
Dino keeping tabs. The guys in from DXavier allows Effect to move further up. I think Effect had a couple of nades left on it. Morph makes the terrifying run, but Lamborghini stops them short in their tracks.
Boboho on the back lines now for Morph, trying to keep it together, but it's got to be a little bit too hard for them. Wymau stays alive for WBG, and they are all there, but by the skin of their teeth, to be honest, it is very unlikely that we'll see all 4 of Weibo getting back up from this one. Boboho still crawling in. Secret Agent Cody Banks on the southeast side.
Your DXavier here. Send a couple down. Try and get a bit more of a spread on. Lamborghini will finish off the remaining players. DXavier find themselves with 10 eliminations in this match, eclipsing some of these other squads in the performance they've had here. Gorgeous rotate earlier on. Great read from Major Pride's push over towards Weibo Gaming, giving them real chance into this match.
The duo forwards for Weibo Gaming. Major Pride trying to shimmy down this hill. You can see the divot they hold right now has such an open angle towards Weibo and DXavier. Such a difficult cross. They've got a vehicle though, so potential to drop a smoke or two and get across, take that fight against the duo from WBG.
Effect has a big mission on his hand here. I think he just about spots out Levi's. I don't know if Levi sees him, but the fact they send him up here, he has to be the linchpin in this situation. His first move is going to be the most important one. That nade doesn't tag anything either, so information not passed back, and this is the dangerous push.
This is what they were looking for, the 2v2 now, up and on the hill. Naomi, Dino both moving forwards, Wymau burning behind the vehicle, steps up for the trade but can't find it. There he is in the back line though. They've still got one more player to deal with, and they're falling. 2 players down now for Major Pride. They need to find the DPS shot, but it's all going to play. And WBG hold in a 2 versus 4. DXavier now looking to roll over the top of it and put this one to bed. DXavier turn the tables on them.